Open your refrigerator right now, and you expect the milk, meat, and vegetables inside to stay perfectly chilled for weeks. But that push-of-a-button convenience is barely a century old. For 99% of human history, surviving meant fighting an unending, invisible war against microscopic mold and rot. If you lost that war, you starved. So how did massive ancient empires keep their populations fed through harsh winters and blistering desert heat, completely without plug-in outlets or chemical coolants? Survival relied on turning the harsh physics and chemistry of the environment into a tool. Long before modern laboratories existed, our ancestors conquered food spoilage by practically applying the core principles of chemistry, physics, and biology. Thousands of years before science could explain why food spoiled, these civilizations were already harnessing its most complex laws to feed entire empires. Take ancient Egypt. In a desert empire dominated by scorching sun and the seasonal flooding of the Nile, storing a massive surplus of food was a matter of life and death. The Egyptians recognized a basic biological rule: bacteria absolutely require water to thrive. Their first tactic was to strip that water away. They laid fish, meat, and fruit out under the blazing desert sun until completely dehydrated. For their most valuable meats, they introduced a second weapon, packing them in dense mineral salts. This triggered a process called osmosis. The salt acts like a magnet, drawing every trace of moisture outward through the bacterial cell walls. This chemical attack leaves the microbial cells entirely dehydrated, and they are killed on the spot. Mastering this reaction provided Egyptian armies with high-protein rations that remained edible for months in the middle of the desert. Dehydration solved the rot problem, but generating freezing cold in a desert without a mechanical compressor required a different scientific approach. Over 2,400 years ago, Persian elites ate frozen desserts during the peak of blazing Iranian summers. They achieved this through a masterpiece of ancient thermodynamic engineering, the yakchal. Subterranean aqueducts funneled freezing water into the base during winter nights. The dome's shape pulled heat up and out, trapping cool air below. A specialized mortar of sand, clay, egg whites, and goat hair provided perfect insulation, keeping ice frozen through summer. Further east, everyday citizens in India and North Africa used a simpler application of thermal physics, the zir pot. The design nested a small glazed clay pot inside a larger porous one, with the gap between them filled with wet sand. As dry air causes water in the sand to evaporate through the outer walls, it draws thermal energy out of the inner chamber. This drops the internal temperature by several degrees, keeping vegetables fresh for weeks. Through pure physical engineering, these civilizations built zero-electricity, passive refrigerators that functioned in the heart of the desert. The ultimate ancient preservation tactic moved away from physics and into applied biology. Instead of trying to eradicate bacteria, empires like ancient Rome and China learned to domesticate them. This is the biological mechanism of fermentation, applied to everything from ancient Chinese vegetables to Rome's famous fish sauces. Safe microbes are allowed to consume the sugars in the food, and as they do, they produce acids or alcohol as a byproduct. This environment acts as a natural shield, making it physically impossible for toxic, deadly bacteria to take root. Preservation reached its peak when humanity stopped fighting nature and began weaponizing microorganisms to do the fighting for them. Modern refrigerators essentially pause time, keeping food identical to the day it was stored. Ancient preservation did the opposite. Applying early physics, chemistry, and biology did more than stop the clock. It changed the chemical makeup of the ingredients themselves. This science gave birth to the unique flavors of the cheeses, pickles, and cured meats we still passionately enjoy today. The next time you open your modern fridge, remember that our ancestors didn't just survive the war against rot. They used it to create the foundations of our culinary history.